All right, thank you. We'll call today's Housing, Urban Development, and Zoning Committee to order. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderwoman Sanye, Alderman Browning, Chair Clark Hubbard,
Here.
Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Sanye. We have 4 present. You have a quorum.
Okay, great. I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes from Tuesday, November 7th, 2023.
Second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderwoman Sanye,
Aye.
Alderman Browning, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderman Cone. We have 4 aye votes.
All right, we'll move through the agenda. Item number 1, Board Bill 130, introduced by Alderwoman Kara Spencer.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the HUD's committee. Board Bill 130 is essentially a bill that authorizes the city to engage in eminent domain of the Railway Exchange building. What it does is it seeks to approve a Chapter 99 redevelopment plan. And Madam Chair, we have a committee substitute that includes an updated version of the blighting study. So, Madam Chair, if you'd like us to put the committee substitute before the committee, I can go ahead and explain well.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, the blighting, what you can see from I checked to make sure it was uploaded in the drive here this morning, but the committee substitute essentially just includes a new version of the blighting study, which really takes into account and includes the recent fire and the demolition of the Sky Bridge that used to connect the Railway Exchange parking garage. So for those who aren't familiar, the Railway Exchange building is a 21-story building at 601 Olive Street. It is an entire city block. It is, I believe, the second largest building in the city of St. Louis. At one time, it was the largest building in the world, I believe, with 1.2 million square feet. It's a 21-story building on the rim of it, but the interior, it's sort of shaped a little bit like a donut. It's a very unusual shape in that only the exterior is 21 stories high and the inside is only like six stories high. But it's an entire city block. It's a very unusual building, and if you haven't seen it in person, the terracotta on the outside of it is absolutely stunning. I mean, they don't make buildings like this anymore. It was built by architect Maroon, Russell, and Crowell, who's done a lot of historic buildings in St. Louis, including our Federal Reserve building, including Soldiers Memorial, the old Leclerc Power building, and several other buildings around St. Louis, but has also been notable works in Texas and Chicago. So this building really, for those of you who've spent their lives here in St. Louis, you know it as the famous Bar building, the Macy's building. We used to go down there as kids and get a cup of the famous French onion soup, which I'm sure many of you did as well. But the building has been shuttered since 2013. Since that time, Hudson Holdings Company bought it in 2017, and it has remained closed essentially since that time, and it has really suffered in its vacancy. This year alone, we've seen just an absolute uptick in break-ins. We've seen a fire. We have just had one heck of a time keeping it secure. The building division has really done an incredible job trying to keep up with keeping the boards up. We did at the Board of Aldermen pass a bill that allowed the city to recoup the costs of putting steel structures on the outside of it. You may also know that due to thefts They're, missing pipes. In September, the basement flooded. The building division had to go in there, pump out all this water. There are several sub-basements. It was an enormous amount of work. So what this bill does is it establishes a redevelopment plan that authorizes eminent domain. It does not ensure that we move forward with the redevelopment of it. It simply opens the door to being able to do that and helping us clear up some of the real complexities, title, the liens, and some other things that are really preventing it from moving forward in the market. I've got here SLDC, Zach Wilson, as well as the Carmody Law Firm, who's representing SLDC and helping to prepare this. And with the permission of the chair, I'd like to invite Zach Wilson up to give a short overview of the work that SLDC has done to recommend this board bill today.
Thank you. The initial board bill we had from last year, because we had a developer from New York come in, they thought they had a negotiated deal with the building, Railroad Exchange building, and their concern was the parking garage south of the building, because there's multiple property owners underneath the garage. So their focus was the eminent domain piece on the garage. Now, since we've had no success with negotiations with the property owner of the Railroad Exchange building, we update the blind study to go in greater detail the building component of the eminent domain piece also. So this, hopefully we'll bring the developer to the table, and we can market the building nationally to get it renovated. So we have Ryan and Jerry here to answer any questions too. Oh, sir.
Okay, we can invite them up. I'll also invite you, while we're kind of contemplating this, to take a look at the new lighting study, which is at the back of the board bill that's been uploaded onto the documents. It gives you a sense of kind of the state of the building right now. If you all want to come up just to answer questions, we can kind of just be available to the committee. For those of you, I'll say I've been down here for 9 years, and the use of eminent domain is something that the city of St. Louis has the authority to do. But uses that authority, and should, with a lot of caution. Taking property from property owners is no small thing to do, and it is off-putting to other developers, it's off-putting to other property owners, and it's scary to homeowners. We've done it before when we assembled land for NGA. It's a very thoughtful process that needs to be undertaken with a lot of caution. The owners here, Hudson Holdings, has owned the property since 2017 and really has failed as of this year, especially to secure it and to show the city of St. Louis the respect that we deserve with our architecture and security of our downtown. And so I'm not taking this step lightly. I know the SLDC, under the leadership of Neil Richardson, isn't taking this lightly. But I think we have come to the point where there is no path forward without taking what the city needs and ought to do, which is its authority to secure this building and move forward in a positive way. With that, I'll hand it over to Ryan Carmody.
Yep. We'll have you guys introduce yourself and then get sworn in.
My name is Ryan Carmody. Work at Carmody McDonald Law Firm with my father, Jerry Carmody. We've done work with the city. We do work with SLDC. We got involved with this specific project.
Just a moment, I need to swear you in.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Yes, so we got involved in this project really just to clear the blight because it's dangerous down there. And I mean, I was listening to KMOX while the fire was happening, and the fire chief was being interviewed, and he said he wasn't even allowing his men to go into the building because it was so dangerous. And they were fighting the fire from outside of the building. So we got involved with SLDC. And what we're asking here for you today is to allow us to be able to condemn or use the property in eminent domain. We're not saying that this will happen tomorrow. We're trying to make this more attractive to developers to come in and develop this site because, as you've heard, H&H has done nothing. They don't want to sell the building. And so we needed some mechanism to be able to take the building back and offer it to someone in the city of St. Louis who would appreciate the architecture, who would appreciate the history, and redevelop this area that if you drive by, it's sad, and it's just, you know, there's graffiti everywhere. So just to bring it back. So that's what this bill is asking you to allow for eminent domain to be a possibility in the future for a redeveloper to, or developer to come in.
All right, did you have anything else? Okay.
Yep, I mean, we appreciate the contemplation here. I know we've been talking about this building of great importance to the city of St. Louis for a long time. As I mentioned, it's one of our largest buildings. It's created one of the largest public safety hazards in our downtown and one of the biggest impediments to development. As I mentioned, the shape of the building is really unusual. You know, we've got a lot of complex ownership associated with it. So the eminent domain, it really does help to make this a more attractive option. And it really says to property owners, look, if you're an out-of-town investor and you're going to plunk your money in the city of St. Louis and do absolutely nothing with it, the city of St. Louis is not going to stand for it any longer. And we are going to take our authority and take our responsibility seriously. And we are going to hold you accountable, and that includes using all the tools that we have available to our city to move properties in the right direction. And with that, Madam Chair, I'll take questions from
All right, Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here today. We have this handout from SLDC, which has a little bit about the property. Board Bill 130, it says, so total project costs unknown. Can you go a little bit over why that was chosen?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can all speak to that. We have no idea what the future use of the building would be. So this is a little bit unusual in that we do not have a specific outcome outlined or even identified. But what this does is it opens up the conversation and allows us to go nationally, internationally, and say, listen, we have this property that we're cleaning up the title through eminent domain, and we're looking for investors and developers and folks that are looking for opportunity, and this is how we're presenting it this way. So there isn't, you know, a lot of times we would have a specific outcome or development in mind when we're passing a redevelopment plan. That is not the case here. And actually, I would argue that doing it this way is actually a little bit better. It opens it up and makes it and allows for sort of an open playing field in that regard.
We've done similar ones in North City, general Chapter 99 plans that we do RFPs for in the future. So that's kind of what same type of focus we're doing on this one. So we don't have a project yet, but we'll put an RFP out for it. Hopefully we'll get respondents from all across the country, because this is a very difficult project to come up to find a developer that matches this type of product. So the Butler Brothers building down the street was sitting vacant for many, many years, and we found a guy from Memphis to do that one. So we're looking that type of product. So, and that's why it's unknown for the dollar amount. So.
Thank you. I understand. So in this case, if eminent domain does go, if that is triggered, if that all moves forward, there's no developer in line for taking it over. So I know the city has been basically managing this property because we have an absentee owner. What would the difference be if it were in the city's hands under eminent domain? And can you talk about how that would work?
You might have to get sworn in, though.
Just keep passing the mic down. Someone knows the
I've
answer.
got the mic. Do I need to be sworn? I do.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Very, very good question, Alderman Schweitzer, and I kind of anticipated we'd get asked that. So what is it? We're going to get a building that's going to be handed over, and then it becomes all of our headache. Well, in fact, it is all of our headache right now. What this does, though, and this is a throwback to the original intent of the Land Clearance for Redevelopment Authority and the reason why we have these tools, and that is we can have a clean slate for any developer who wants to come in. As you well know, with all of these, and we went through the NGA properties And there would be title issues and so forth that would, we had to get cleared up. Same here, except we clear them up and say, it's there, it's ready for you, come in and develop it. So I think it's an advantage, and it is essentially passing a headache. It may be a little bit bigger headache for the time being, but notwithstanding that, it's in our control. And as Alderman Spencer said, it's an announcement to the world that rather than sit here, I mean, I remember the days of bricks falling off of the buildings and closing. Remember, I mean, all of those things that we lived with. And the idea is now you can't hold us up. I mean, we're really going to go forward and do something positive. And it is, I've already seen, it is a good message to the development community. We've got challenges, but when we say we're going to take the bull by the horns and try to start ourselves, I think it's a great message to send.
And just so you know, underneath the garage, there's 12 different parcel owners. So what eminent domain will do, as Jerry was saying, is it will clear the title. So all of those people that claim an interest, we clear that. So we are literally offering you, like Jerry said, a clean slate.
There's also a lot of complications with regard to the lien holders. There's Hudson Holdings owns the building, but they don't own it outright. They bought it for, the reports vary from $9 million to $20 million. And, there's a lot of liens associated. So when a developer comes and looks at it, it's so complicated to try to figure out what is actually owed. You could buy the property, but you still have all these other lien holders. The eminent domain will wipe all that out, clear it out, and provide a blank slate, so at least a developer can start to contemplate a project with the site.
That makes sense in terms of the city's already, kind of summarizing, the city's already doing all the work to make property, might as well have a clear title in the process. How much do we think this is costing the city? Every year, since they purchased it, since it closed? Any ballpark numbers? No way to ballpark it.
Yeah,
Sure.
We were just talking about what it took to take down the Sky Bridge. We haven't quantified how much it's costing us, not to mention the cost of just having an entire city block vacant in our downtown area. It is enormous.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. Okay. So allows for eminent domain for all buildings except 622 Olive Street. That is the parking.
No,
That's the
white building at the corner of Olive and 7th Street.
Okay.
That was occupied last year, so we did not want to. That building was occupied last year, so we did not want to use eminent domain in any occupied buildings.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. So this also allows for up to 20 years at 95% tax. So this is sort of preemptively saying whoever comes in, we have a great deal for you. It's clear title.
Correct.
You have a tax abatement waiting.
And we
Okay.
could ratchet that down, depends on what the use is. So we would score it.
So
down.
up to
Up to.
allows for up to. So this bill doesn't authorize that. It just allows, or it
Allow
does.
up to 20 years.
Okay. Doesn't guarantee it. We'd have to pass another.
You would not pass it. LCRA
You
board,
will. LCRA. Oh,
they would
okay.
have to pass the scorecard and all those things,
Okay.
very level.
Okay. I think this makes sense to me, and I appreciate it being brought forward and using the tools in the toolbox, as you said. Thank you for your time.
Alderman Browning?
Thank you, Alderwoman Spencer, for bringing this forward. I think we can agree on the importance of making sure this building is preserved and that we do our best to remove the blighted conditions that is really holding down the whole area. And I think we can also agree that large buildings like this have a really outsized impact. So the importance of securing this is utmost. I guess my question is, Alderwoman Schweitzer kind of cleared a lot up there, but I want to understand on the back end of this, after we attract a developer to do this, what kind of vetting exists to make sure that whoever takes control of this property is going to do a quality job of fixing it up, and that we're not going to give tax abatement to something that in 10 years' time will just be another problem?
That's a great question. I mean, I think that is something SLDC can answer, but at the end of the day, we have to have faith in our St. Louis Development Corporation to do that work on all tax abatements. The Board of Aldermen doesn't have the bandwidth to vet each property or each project, and so I'll let Zach Wilson speak to that.
In the last several years, we've installed clawbacks in all redevelopment agreements. So when those things happen, we can claw back on the incentive and have a way to bring the developer back to the table. Like, you have to fix these problems or we take the tax abatement. So that's been installed in the last 5 to 6 years. And they have gotten stricter as we've dealt with certain problem developers in the past, so.
Thank you. And does that include enforcement of the city's prevailing wage ordinance?
Yes, prevailing wage, minority compliance are all goals that new projects have to meet before the incentive is activated. So.
Okay, thank you. Well, once again, I really appreciate the effort to revitalize this incredibly beautiful building. And I hope that we can get something positive out of this. It looks like we're taking the right steps. I understand everything we're doing. So just really appreciate you bringing it forward.
Vice Chair Sanye.
I don't have questions. All of my questions have been answered. Just thank you all for your leadership on this. I think we've all gotten to see pretty publicly many of the issues that have happened with the building. I also did some research and saw that it seems like the property owners are also behind on property taxes and hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think this is unfortunately way too many examples in our city, but this is a prime example of a negligent owner who's not only maintaining their property, they're also not exercising fiscal responsibility that they owe to the city. I think I would just, and I know it has to be something that happens in the future. The flag that I did, the concern I had before was about that 20-year 95% process, but I understand that you're saying that because that would have to be another process to actually go through and give an abatement. I would just want to make sure that there's no current ownership of the building could get that, but it seems like that's fine. So I really don't have any questions for you all. Just thank you for your work on this.
All right, I didn't have any questions either. I was looking over it before, and I'm grateful. I'm always talking about the tools in the toolbox, right? So I'm glad we do have this tool, because I'm old enough to remember that French onion soup, it's been tried to be duplicated, imitated but never duplicated. And I also have fond memories of that famous shop for my mom on Christmas Eve every year. So I just have so many memories about the building, and I'm just grateful that we're taking these steps to try to get it back to its glory. So with that, we'll let Alderwoman Spencer close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I finally remember that soup too, and I found the recipe online last night. So if you're interested, I'll share it with you. But this work obviously can't be done alone. I have to give some credit to the mayor's office and Nancy Cross for helping make sure that the building division in the city had all the tools it needed to keep it boarded up. We're going to continue to do that until we can get the steel structures moving forward on the 27th of November. Frank Oswald and the board up team over there has been really incredible, keeping the boards as well as they can. Obviously, the fire department has been an enormous amount of help. And obviously, GSL, the Carmody Group, SLDC, but also GSL has been very, very helpful just to come to the table and have these discussions and provide some funding for some of the work that the city's had to do while the absentee property owner has exercised an incredible amount of negligence on one of our city's finest assets. And so with that, I'll take another question, of course, from the chair.
It's not a question, but and it speaks to what Alderwoman Schweitzer said about the money we're spending already. We just voted on having to secure that building. I didn't know if you wanted to mention that.
Yeah, we did. So all of the costs associated with the steel board ups, as well as the security that the city has had to hire just to keep the building under control, will be invoiced to the property owner, will come off that fair negotiated price that we decide on, as far as eminent domain. So we should be able to recoup the costs of some of the work this because of the work the Board of Aldermen did to pass that bill just a few weeks ago. So should help. And with that, Madam Chair, I'd love favorable consideration of the HUD's Board Bill 130.
Thank you. With that, I'll accept a motion for favorable consideration of Board Bill 130. Committee sub.
I make a motion that we pass board.
Committee substitute. Did we need to adopt the committee substitute?
Do we need to vote to adopt it first? Okay. We'll first accept the motion to adopt Board Bill 130 committee sub.
So moved.
Second.
Previous roll.
And now we'll accept the motion for passage of Board Bill 130.
I move to pass Board Bill 130 out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
Previous roll.
30 committee substitute.
Committee substitute. Thank you, Michael.
Sure.
Alderman Browning.
Previous roll. Okay. Congratulations. Look forward to all the great work that's going to come out of that. So I'm going to move it around out of respect for our colleague, Alderwoman Keys, that's here, and move her up since I'm going to stand in the gap for Alderman Cone. So Alderwoman Keys, you're recognized on Board Bill 138.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the HUD's committee. So I'm here today to speak on behalf of Board Bill 138. This project is in the formerly J.P. Bushnell Packing Supply business located on Locust. So the plan is to have 8 large apartments on the upper level and some commercial businesses on the lower. This is a yes. This particular development is offering a 20% minority participation. They are asking for a TIF, and I am very excited to be asked to sponsor this particular project in the Locust Business District.
Okay, with that, we'll see if Mr. Wilson would like to come up and speak a little bit.
Certainly.
Okay.
So Zach Wilson from SLDC is here.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Yeah, this is a tax abatement for 10 years at 75%. It scores well on the community scorecard. We have Andrew Knob here that can go over the community scorecard with us, and Jake Nierup that can go over the financial scorecard with you also. Let me bring up those two to go over those two things. And the reason we're doing the scorecard on this project is project's over $1 million. We're following Board Bill 64 from the previous year. So.
Hello, do I need to be sworn in? Oh, good. Okay, so I think we haven't been here in a while, so just a quick reminder on the community benefits scorecard. So this is our way of trying to score the project and make sure it has some sort of benefit across a number of different categories to the community before we even consider it for an abatement. So in this case, the project scores 43, which gets into tier 2. That just establishes the ceiling of the abatement level that we could consider, and then we use our judgment and the financial analysis to determine a more specific abatement level to recommend. So in this case, we're actually recommending 10 years at 75%, which is well below the ceiling. So the majority of the points here are come from the location. So it's an economic justice area 2. It's a couple blocks away from EGI 1. It's also a couple blocks away from EGI 5. So it's kind of in a sort of transitional area. So 20 points from that. I guess a quick reminder too on what the Economic Justice Index is. It basically indexes the entire city according to areas of need and opportunity. So 2 is nearly the top as far as that goes. Estimated to create 20 FTE. We actually, developer expects a higher job count, but given the uncertainty of what tenant will actually be in there, and that, you know, these jobs are mostly going to be office. We kind of went conservative and bumped it down a little bit, 20. It's a historic building built in 1917, so this is going to be preserved with this rehab. 5 points for that. It's located on the Locust Commercial Corridor. It's near a bus stop. The size of the investment and the use of outside funds in the form of state and federal historic tax credits gets it a few more points. So total of 43. We think this is a good project because it rehabs a historic property on a commercial corridor and brings it to, you know, mixed use with a mix of residential, office, and retail. So if you have any questions on the scorecard, I'd be happy to answer. Otherwise, we can give it to Jake.
All right. With that, okay.
Good morning. So essentially there's three sources of tax revenue as a result of this project. The primary, first and largest, is the increased property tax revenue as a result of the redevelopment. The second is the payroll and earnings taxes generated by the jobs created on the ground floor. And the third is a small amount of earnings taxes captured by residents on the upper floors who were not previously living or working in the city. So the property has a base tax rate of about $11,000 for property. We expect that to be about $24,000 during the abatement period, increasing to about $70,000 when that abatement expires. With the 20 FTE on the ground floor, we're assuming $50,000 per position. So that generates an annual payroll of $1 million. Payroll and earnings taxes would be $15,000 annually. And then we estimate about $4,000 worth of earnings taxes from the residents on the upper floors. So based on $4.7 million in total project costs, the MWB impacts would be about $730,000 for minority-owned businesses and about $330,000 for women-owned businesses. And we estimate a total fiscal benefit for the city of $217,000 over 10 years, increasing to $560,000 over 20, and $100,000 over 10 years to the schools, increasing to a little over $500,000 over 20 years. The incentive value is about $260,000, which is just under 6% of project costs. And we have a developer return incentivized of 8.1%. That is one of the reasons that we use the lower abatement level below the max, is because we look at that developer return and compare it to a median. So 8.1 incentivized is basically right at the regional median for a mixed-use development in this location. I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you. So this building is currently completely vacant?
It is. JP Bushnell vacated the building several months ago. They did relocate within the city. They're up on Cass Avenue near the highway now.
So the business that was there moved and now it's completely vacant?
There's,
Okay.
yeah, there was only 3 employees there previously, but they've all been retained.
So what is the rest of what does the building look like right now? Is it in pretty good shape, or?
I cannot speak to the condition.
It's under construction right now. We received the application probably close to a year ago. Due to the elections, we had to wait to see who won and to see if the alderperson would support the project moving forward, tax abatement.
So you said they started construction without no, you're shaking your head no.
No, we got the application about a year ago. The construction started probably a few months ago, I would say, but that was after it went through El Surrey and it's been introduced here, so.
So they started the construction already?
Correct, yes.
So they started the construction without knowing whether they would be getting a tax abatement?
El Surrey approved the tax abatement on our front, so
Okay.
now this is the next step to going through the Board of Aldermen, so,
Okay.
yes.
What is there, I mean, obviously we have a lot of different ways that we look at projects now, but we've
Right.
talked about this. One of the ways that we talk about projects is, would this property happen without the tax abatement? What is your assessment?
I think it might, but it would be a lesser product, I would say. Maybe the commercial piece would be done and not the residential. That's
And it's market rate?
correct, yes it is.
Okay. Do you know, it says 8 apartment units. Do you know generally what they'll look like, or if they'll be multi-bedroom, or is that in here?
Yeah, it's 8 units. I believe they're all 2 bedrooms. They are quite large. They're about 1,300 square feet each. One good thing about this building is it actually has windows on all sides, so they'll have good light, large areas. I think the rents are about $2,500 a month, which on a per square foot basis is actually quite reasonable given how large the units are.
Okay. So the sources include approximately 1.2 million in state and federal historic tax credits. Is that, that's about a quarter of the project,
Correct. Usually it's around 20 to 25%.
and that's typical? Okay, and they got the tax credits because of where it's located and the historical significance of the building, and does that well, it looks like we get some points for it, for historic preservation. They got all the points, so this is a priority building for you?
Yes.
To be honest, any historic building that's being rehabbed in the city is a priority for us. It saves on demo, it saves on reuse, it's energy efficient in many ways. So that's, the sustainability score is helpful too when we reuse a building, so.
Okay, yeah, I think it was interesting that you said that the value that would return to the developer is about the median of what it would be if they did this project, but only because of the tax incentive. So they're getting average returns
Correct.
only because of this tax incentive.
Yes.
And a developer is going to choose or not choose to do where they get returns above or below median.
Yeah.
Just trying to convince myself to vote for this, so I need all the information.
I understand. That's exactly how that's sort of
Okay.
set up. The incentivized return is right at the median for that use. Those are weighted based on the use. And so commercial returns are different from residential returns. The mixed use returns, we weight based on the square footage of each use.
Mm-hmm.
The one wrinkle I would say in this building is that it's going to be owner occupied. So the only thing we can do with the developer's rate of return is we're looking at the internal rate of return on the real estate. Here, that's not exactly what's happening because the developer is not going to purchase the building, own it for 10 years, and then sell it for the real estate value. The value of the building is that it's their office space on the ground floor.
Okay.
So it's kind of a square peg, round hole situation, but if kind of a lay person, a non-owner occupant, were to develop the building at these rates, those are the returns. Is that right?
And this is an area, I know I'm familiar with this area, but I'm not familiar with how much housing is around this particular location. It's mostly businesses, or so is this kind of newer to have housing right there?
There's some housing, we'd like to see more to keep the street more active all night and all day. But if you go a block, 2 blocks north of this, you get more vacancy, more vacant lots, parking lots, those type of things. So that stretch of Locust is somewhat strong, but if you go 1 block north or 2 blocks north, it needs an investment. So we're hoping to build up Locust, then push that supply further north. So.
Thank you. How much tax abatement has that street? Is that street is one that has received a lot, a little, no tax abatement?
I would say each project is scored differently. So yeah, it has received tax abatement. There's LIHTC projects north of there that's received tax abatement also. So yeah.
It's a priority area, is what you're saying.
I would say so. The geography, we take the geography points very seriously. So EGI 2 is 20 points. But we have an EGI 5 that's just close by, and that's one of the higher point categories we look for to put investment. So that's one we were focusing on. So it's kind of the middle, it's kind of a weird spot. South and west is strong, but north of this location it needs investment. So.
Okay, and can you go over just a little bit deeper why you decided on the 75% instead of going all the way to the ceiling? I mean, I'm supportive of below ceiling, but I'm just interested in that.
To be honest, we try to keep those projects for 15 years and higher, or more so even higher than 10 years. For projects that are going to change in area quite a bit. And we also do LIHTC projects for 15 years all across the board.
That's for affordable housing.
Exactly. We take the anything over 10 years very seriously, not to give that type of tax abatement to all projects. You may score well, but we like to see transformative projects get those type of abatements. So Railroad Exchange, Butler Brothers, projects in North City that are job creators, those type of things I would see abatements over 10 years.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the time and answering my questions.
All right, thank you.
Alderman Browning.
Thank you. And again, I think Alderwoman Schweitzer did a good job of asking the critical questions. So I feel pretty comfortable in supporting this. I just want to thank Alderwoman Keys for bringing this forward and, make the point that housing is housing, right? That we need to build more housing in the city if we want more people here. That if you go to Midtown and you take a walk around, which I had the opportunity to do a couple months ago when I got brunch down there and decided to take an hour walk around the area, it's an area that is on the precipice. It is doing well, but it could be doing better. And as you noted, just north of there, if you look at the map, there's a lot of vacant lots just one block north. So, you're not going to get those vacant lots developed if you've got abandoned buildings sitting in between. I appreciate the math here. It checks out. We're going to get more taxes during the abatement than we're currently getting, and then we're going to get even more after that period ends. So this makes sense to me. I appreciate you exercising discretion and the amount, but I think all in all, this is going to be a great project, and I'm excited to add some 2-bedroom units. That's something else that we need to add more of. So all in all, I think there's a lot of good indications for this, and I thank you all for all your work on that.
Vice Chair Sanye.
Thank you. All my questions have been asked and answered, so thank you.
All right, mine too. So Alderwoman Keys.
All right, well, bravo, SLDC. And I think that I misquoted. This project is a $4.7 million project, and it is shaping up very nicely. The last time that I was over in the area, they were putting in gigantic windows on the front of the building, and it is looking very good. So I'm very excited about this project. And so with that being said, I would ask for your favorable consideration.
All right, with that, I'll accept the motion for a due pass recommendation for Board Bill 130. All right, seeing no objection, congratulations, Alderwoman Keys. Congratulations. SLDC, we'll move on. I'm going to pass it over to Vice Chair Sanye.
Okay, so just to bring the folks up at home up to speed, bring the committee up to speed, Alderman Cone cannot be with us today. He's recovering. And so Alderwoman Clark Hubbard is going to be presenting Board Bill 137 for us today. And with that, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, you may proceed.
Absolutely excited to stand in the gap for my friend, Alderman Cone. Madam Clerk, can you read the summary for Board Bill 137, please?
Board Bill number 137, introduced by Alderman Shane Cone, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan dated August 23rd, 2023 for the 4132 South Compton Avenue area in the city of St. Louis. After finding that the area is blighted as defined in section 99320 of the revised statutes of Missouri, 2016 as amended, finding that there shall be available 10-year tax abatement, and pleading cooperation of the Board of Aldermen. I'm sorry, pledging cooperation of the Board of Aldermen.
I was going to say, we start pleading down here. It's going to be a problem. So there is one obvious correction in the handout. Total project cost is not $350. It's $350,000. With that, I'll bring up SLDC staff to see if you all have any questions.
Just a little rundown. This was an LRA property at one time. A city employee has purchased it, has applied for tax abatement, is currently rehabbing it, and applied for tax credits, historic tax credits. And we're following the tax abatement map that was established in 2018. It's on our website. Anyone could go and Google tax abatement, City of St. Louis. Our map shows up, pops up. So any property, residential property under $1 million can apply for tax abatement, and then it'll show you what you qualify for. And this is 10 years at 95%.
Okay. And with that, we can take questions from the committee. Alderwoman Schweitzer?
Thank you. How long was this building an LRA property?
All I know has been numerous years. I can't tell you for how many those.
Okay.
Yeah.
And during that time, I do see some boards on the windows. Has it been something that the city has had to spend a lot of time securing, or is it?
Well, I was told by the current property owner that the boards were in there, but once they took them down, there was hoarder was in there, so it was wall-to-wall items. So there's people that broke into it constantly. It was a very high-risk fire hazard. So it is many city resources went into it for board ups and the type of nuisance calls, I would say.
And as an LRA property, it's not participating in paying
There's
taxes.
no taxes,
There's
correct.
nothing like that. So with the tax abatement, it would be we'd get that 5%, which is more.
Yeah, it's a little bit more, yes, but since it's in private owners' hands right now, we're receiving something. With the increase of $350,000. That's quite a large sum for this area of Dutchtown. That was a big win for that block.
Sure.
Tax purposes.
Right. Well, I wish them the best of luck getting this back together. I can imagine they have a huge amount of work ahead of them to get this done. So whatever city employee that is, good luck. Thank you for buying this property. Thank you.
Alderman Browning?
Thank you. Looking at Google Street View for this property, I can see that the boards have been on the September 2014 at least. So we're talking almost 10 years of vacancy. I'm sure all the neighbors on the block are looking forward to this project coming along as well. I did want to clarify on our handout, it does say 350,000 million. I'm assuming that's a typo.
Typo, yes.
Okay, yeah, otherwise we're building a gold and platinum house here. But otherwise, yeah, I think this is a great project. I know Dutchtown could definitely use the investment, and we try to use these kinds of tax abatements on single family homes sparingly, but in this case, this is something that would really benefit the whole area. And so I'm happy to support this, and I have no questions.
Just to piggyback, we've seen a dramatic reduction in tax abatement for single family homes in the last 3 or 4 years. With the higher interest rates and the slowing down the housing market, we may see uptick in that in the near future.
I don't have any questions. I did take the time to go and look at the property, and it's in terrible, terrible condition. I mean, it looks like the building in itself is hazardous and is at risk of, it's just extremely decrepit and falling apart. I went and looked, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm surprised this actually hasn't been condemned by now or demolished. So I'm glad that we're taking advantage of our stock and doing some things that can help it. And I really like the model too of folks in communities, purchasing the properties and the city supporting them and knowing that it's going to be owner occupied. It's not going to, operate as any other entity. So I don't have any questions. Just thank you all for your work, and thank you, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, for standing in the gap for our colleague.
All right. So with that, I'm asking for favorable consideration and a due pass recommendation for Board Bill 137.
And I will take a motion.
I move to pass Board Bill 137 out of committee with the due pass recommendation.
Second.
Previous roll. You say hearing no objection.
All right. Hearing no objections, we'll go with previous roll. And congratulations, Alderman Cone, and congratulations, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
All right, maybe that made Alderman Cone feel a little better. All right, we are going to hold the next agenda item out of respect again for my colleagues this week and ongoing conversations. We're going to hold Board Bill 143. Did we have any resolutions for review?
We have none.
Okay. Anyone have any committee discussions?
Thank you. I just want to take the time to thank Chairwoman Hubbard Clark Hubbard for being so willing to answer questions about the ARPA reallocation bill, which is what is being held on the agenda today. I know I've had a lot of questions, so I appreciate the time that you've taken to answer them, and make sure that we're making smart decisions here.
I don't have any discussion either. I would just thank you for also holding the questions. I've kind of been following the conversation, and I just got an update on some information that was given, but I just got it today. So just thank you for the continued conversation.
Absolutely. And I did want to make a small discussion. I asked my colleague, Alderman Browning, my neighbor, if we could do this. Since this is the committee that we are called to promote and encourage and help stand up businesses here in our beloved city, we have a business that we share, and it's called Brutellum, and it's on Delmar. The business itself sits in the 9th Ward, and I'm their proud auto lady on the residential side. And they are going through some extreme challenges right now. And if you haven't noticed that they have been closed, they've been closed for a while, and they're just going public now with some of the challenges that they've been having, and they need some help. And I think that while we are called to do the big deals like this, we are also called to stand up behind our businesses here, our small businesses here who make choices to open and operate their businesses here in the city of St. Louis. So that's Brutellum. Laura, AJ, and the Brutellum crew, they have set up a GoFundMe, and so you can look it up. We can try to share it on our different platforms. I absolutely would open it up if Alderman Browning wanted to mention anything too, but they have a GoFundMe. They're going through this now, and if there's any way that you can support them, we're humbly asking that you do.
Yeah, I just echo what my colleague said. I had the chance to eat at this restaurant a few months ago, and it already received several accolades. So we are hoping that they can really get back in business and continue to be a great part of the community there. So just urge anybody who can help out. They could absolutely use the help. This is a family business, and it's more than just the restaurant that's being affected. It's a family that's being affected. So please, the things that happen in our city are because of the people in our city that take the risk and go out there and try to make our communities just a little better with a little extra special touch. And that's what this restaurant is. So I hope that we can all come together and support them in their time of need.
Thank you, Alderman Browning. Yes. So please reach out. If you can find a search, you can probably just search Brutellum and find their GoFundMe. If not, reach out to either of us, and we can share the information with you all as well. Do we have any written testimony? All right. We are absolutely excusing Alderman Cone for necessary absence, and with that, I'll accept a motion for adjournment. Previous roll. Everyone have a blessed day.